So whenever there is a conjunction, we always check who is the winner of this particular conjunction, who is the winner of this planetary war. So we use a word called planetary war here. It's something like when 5 planets are sitting in one room, all the planets try to express themselves. They show their behavior, and finally we see which planet is going to win this particular Graha Yuddha, it's planetary war. So analyzing a planetary war, that is Graha Yuddha, involving 5 planets is a bit complex, because technically a war only occurs between 2 planets. Generally, if 2 planets are in a war, we can see whichever is brightest or whichever is having more strength, we can say that planet is a winner. So in the massive cluster, like the cluster that is going to form on 18 January 2026, several battles happen simultaneously. So the winner of this January 18th war, to decide, it's a kind of complex thing. But see, on this day the planets are in Capricorn, especially in the nakshatra Uttarashadha. Even after that they move to Shravana, some of the planets. And who are participating in this planetary war as Mars, Mercury, Venus, Sun and Moon. And here, if we observe the planets, we can see Mars is the winner of this planetary war. See, in Vedic astrology, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Mars is very, very comfortable in Capricorn. Of course, at 28 degrees, I think it is the exaltation is at its peak. And on 18th January, of course, this Mars is not completely exalted, but it is in a most favorable sign, because Mars is action oriented. So when you want to express Martian energy, you can only express through action. And Capricorn believes in that action. Capricorn always believes that only action can give results, not words, not beliefs, not devotion and all, right? Only the action can give results. That is Capricorn's belief. So, and even more, if you observe, this particular Mars is too close to the Sun. But still, even it is too close to the Sun, you cannot say it is in combustion. It's a kind of exalted Mars only you can consider it as Mars is a kind of more powerful Mars because it is in Capricorn. It's a commander-in-chief. It is at its highest strength. That's what we say about Mars. And the remaining planets like Mercury, Venus, Sun, Moon, these are a bit secondary compared to other planets. Mars is having more say here. Mercury and Venus are a kind of losers only here, because see, they are both in combustion. They are weakened by the Sun's heat and suppressed by the heavy disciplined energy of a kind of exalted Mars and the Sun in Saturn's sign. Moon, of course, 18th January is a new moon phase. It's Amavasya phase, meaning it has not enough strength. It has, because it's a new moon, does not have enough whiteness, right? It's a new moon, it's a Amavasya moon. So the winner is Mars in the planetary war, but it is a kind of dark victory if you observe. And Mars represents the military force. It represents hardline government authority, and it's a kind of unyielding decisions over diplomacy and dialogue. This diplomacy is Venus, and the dialogue, this is all Mercury. So there is a kind of direct winner. You can say whoever is harsh is the winner kind of energy we can feel here. Because by diplomacy, I am going to be the winner. If anybody says that, he is taking the side of Venus, and Venus has a bit less say here in this planetary war. If somebody says, okay, there is a kind of fight or war, and I'm going to win this war through my dialogue. If any world's leader is saying this, he may not be the winner, because he is trying the mercurial energies by saying, by saying through dialogue I'm going to win, right? If he says that, so dialogue has, let's say here, diplomacy, that is Venus, has less say here. So it's a kind of the hardline authority, the military force, that is Mars, is the primary winner and Sun is the secondary winner, I would say. And Moon has not enough strength because it's a new moon, as we discussed. That is the energy of 18th January if you analyze. And when some kind of very, very hard authority is winning, we feel like, is it a kind of very, very powerful event? Can there be any kind of great leader's assassination somewhere, right? If you try to predict in those terms, see, astrology cannot guarantee a specific death. It's really impossible. You cannot say that so-and-so leader is going to be assassinated. It's a kind of, the prediction itself is a kind of, it has no guarantee, right? But because we need to know the personal chart of that particular leader, then we can analyze, okay, this particular leader is going through some kind of hard phase in his life, and also his nation having so-and-so lagna is also impacted heavily, negatively by this particular conjunction. So is a danger for this particular ruler, right? We can say that, but we don't have the personal, a very guaranteed personal horoscopes of any individual leader, so we cannot guarantee a kind of specific assassination. But this planetary position, of course, identifies some high risk windows where the karmic protection of a leader fails, right? So the planetary configuration of this early 2026, this January, is one of the most dangerous for heads of state in the last 60 years, we can say. So we can try to predict some kind of high risk windows for so-and-so country or so-and-so leader, because this particular planetary conjunction and the sequence of conjunctions, if you see, can be dangerous for heads of state in the last 60 years. So even if you see the Bhavishya Malika, there is a thunderbolt prophecy. It's something like, even let us talk about Nostradamus quatrains. So you cannot specifically say a particular year, but based on some kind of coincidences, we can say 2026 can be the year that a great man struck down by a thunderbolt. So in astrology, if you see in terms of astrology, thunderbolt is a kind of, it's either Rahu or Uranus. So both are active. Rahu is in Aquarius. It's very, very active, and even Uranus is also active in February 2026. So it's not a very, very good period, especially the January, and of course more than January, February 2026 is not a good period for heads of state in the world. And even the 17th February eclipse, if you observe, this is the most critical day, I would say, because a solar eclipse in Shatabhisha involving Rahu and the Sun. Sun is authority, basically it represents leader. It clearly represents fall of a king. There is no doubt. And the specific risk, let us see in terms of, let us focus on USA. USA is a Leo ascendant, Leo rising, you say, Leo ascendant country. In many mundane astrology charts, of course, USA is treated as a Leo ascendant or Leo lagna or Leo rising country. So the February conjunctions actually happening exactly in the 7th house. 7th house represents open enemies. So open enemies of USA, because it's all happening in Aquarius. So the enemies of USA, they have a very big problem, it seems, right? Because the seventh house is having a very great, the seventh house of Leo ascendant, or directly the enemies of Leo ascendant, that is USA, would suffer. That's what we can say. Or there is a, so as enemies are suffering, enemies just don't suffer themselves. They suffer because they are going to have some kind of friction with USA. So USA and other countries. So there's going to be a friction. So because of that, USA would also lost something. Because in a war doesn't mean that somebody is going to win completely 100% happiness. Not like that, right? When there is a war, the two sides lose something. Whoever is losing less, he is the winner, we say. That is war, basically. So USA is going to play a very vital role here, and it would also lose something, and the enemies of USA may suffer more and more based on this. And because the conjunction involves Mars, which is a kind of violent planet, it's a kind of assassination related planet, and Rahu is mainly related to conspiracy or surprise element here. So there is, especially in the month of February, just after 17th Feb, 23rd Feb, there is another 5-planet conjunction. In this 23rd Feb, which is a dangerous conjunction, it's involving Rahu and Mars. So there is a severe risk of a high-profile assassination or a kind of coup-like removal of a leader in the west or northwest regions. Even with respect to India also, west or northwest may have some kind of problems because of this. And see, one thing, the world is getting a lot of chances for the past 4 years, especially after 2020, especially March 2020. The world is getting a lot of chances of dividing into two worlds or two countries or two regions or two sides or two teams. You can say anything. They are getting chances to divide into two groups. An 18th January conjunction in Uttarashadha, followed by the 17th February solar eclipse, it is suggesting a kind of great divorce in global politics, in global geopolitics. January is a kind of leader's take and all or nothing stance, because Mars is in Capricorn. It's very straightforward and serious action. The world becomes serious. And February, of course, you can expect a sudden event. It can be a kind of assassination or a kind of the whole technology collapse. That is the event, because that is happening in Aquarius. Aquarius is related to this masses and then technology. And that's what I can say. Assassination or tech collapse would be the sudden event. During the eclipse, that is 17th February eclipse, after that you can expect this. So this eclipse shatters the remaining diplomatic ties. So the result is obviously the two worlds, the two groups. Of course, that is also mentioned in Malika, Bhavishya Malika. One block of leaders, one group of leaders following a traditional or kind of spiritual path, and the other group is a kind of hyper-technological or authoritarian path they follow. That's what we can see with this conjunction. Of course, you can say these conjunctions, these alignments mirroring the energy of some other year like 1914 or 1939, the Second World War kind of alignments. But still, as a human, we hope for peace, right? We hope for peace because we don't want the good people to suffer because of the bad. because of the egoistic. The whole problem is coming out of the ego only. People are thinking, see, these leaders, some of the leaders especially, they want to show they are great. But they are not really great. They are not doing great things, but still they want to show off that they are great. How is it possible? And they are not ready to accept it. So they are following some kind of cunning paths. And they are feeling happy themselves. It's a kind of, this kind of behavior is a kind of demonic behavior. If you have strength, if you have capacity, do it. And show the world that you are the greatest. Even that is also a kind of ego in Vedic astrology. Right? That is also a kind of ego. Even that is a kind of a sin, but still you're doing the worst sin of all. That is, you're not capable and you're trying to show you're capable, and for that you are following a cunning path. You're disturbing the good people. Obviously, you will be punished because of this conjunction. You're going to be worried. The world leader, the bad world leaders are going to be worried a lot, because this particular Jan Feb is not in the hands of world leaders also. It's a kind of forced reset. It is in the hands of the divine. It is in the hands of Kalki, I would say. It is in the hands of the God, obviously. The forced reset of global leadership. So, the solar eclipse of 17th February, if you observe, is showing some kind of assassination or a kind of leader's fall energy very, very clearly, because Rahu, Mars are involving in this conjunction with Sun. And of course, there are two other planets. We already talked about that. So, in mundane astrology, predicting the world events, the location where the eclipse is most visible is where its shadow falls most heavily. That is that region we focus. Generally, we focus on that region where the eclipse region, the shadow of the eclipse falls most heavily. Right? That is 17th February 2026 eclipse. If you observe where this particular shadow is falling on, of course, this impact would be worldwide, because the whole world is, after all, it is all connected. If COVID came in some place because of some solar eclipse in December 2019, it just not restricted to that particular place, because the world is connected. And COVID clearly showed all the humans are connected. We are all connected by the Panchabhutas, the 5 elements. That's it. If one place you're not taking care of one country, if one country is suffering and you're just laughing or smiling at them, tomorrow the problem will come to you. Obviously, where the shadow is falling, if you try to see in those terms, right? Of course, this impact would be worldwide, but still, as per Vedic astrology, we're a bit curious where the shadow is really falling. The locations of the eclipse, we say. So the annual solar eclipse, we say ring of fire, always. This eclipse, we say ring of fire, the 17th February 2026, has a very specific path, of course. The visibility, as per my knowledge, if I see the visibility, Antarctica I will talk about that, right? It's a lonely place or whatever, I will talk about that. So, is almost exclusively over Antarctica and the remote southern ocean. The shadow would be falling on those regions, and there is a partial visibility of the shadow extending to southern tip of South America, that is Chile, Argentina, these regions, and southern Africa. that is South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Madagascar. So these are some of the regions where this eclipse shadow is clearly falling on. It is basically represents the king's fall. Even ancient texts like Brihat Samhita state that if an eclipse falls on remote or frozen lands, it signifies the fall of leaders who have become cold or isolated from their people. So the impact is not just restricted to the regions where the eclipse is visible, it is worldwide. The impact is worldwide. So Argentina, Chile, these regions are under direct astrological pressure during this window. South Africa, this eclipse is visible here as a partial bite, so this could trigger major leadership shifts in African continent. It is not only limited to South Africa, the African continent, right, may have some major leadership shifts. And the unseen impact, because the ring of fire, this particular solar eclipse, which is called as the ring of fire, the annual solar eclipse is only seen in Antarctica, where is a land with no permanent residents. It suggests a kind of hidden or secret coup. The leader who falls might not be a president of a country. Of course, it can be a president of a country who is doing all secret operations all the time. At the same time, it is also suggesting the leader who falls might be a leader of the shadows, someone who controls global finances or secret organizations. He is going to be the sufferer of this particular eclipse, the 17th February 2026 eclipse. And coming back to the point, this assassination event, see, we cannot predict assassination directly without knowing the individual horoscopes of those leaders. But we can say some kind of, we can predict some kind of astrological profile, is kind of, where this eclipse can make the things very much riskier. So the leader at risk is likely a Leo figure or an Aquarius prominent figure, because that is the Rahu Ketu axis which is suffering. The Leo Aquarius line is going to be suffering. So the person would be a Leo prominent person or Aquarius prominent figure, I would say. Here the weapon, the Mars or Rahu conjunction, that Mars Rahu conjunction is a kind of weapon. It's a serious weapon. So the conjunction of Mars and Rahu, which is called as Angaraka Yoga in Vedic astrology, that's 23rd February, just 6 days later the eclipse, just 6 days after the eclipse, is the assassination signature here. Mars is the bullet or blade, Rahu is the conspiracy or surprise. That's what we say in astrology. Mars is just like a weapon. Rahu gives more force to that weapon, and whole thing can be a surprise to the world. And the world would be divided into two groups. This event is likely the trigger for the world splitting into the assassination event can be, right? The kind of conspiracy event can be a trigger for the world splitting into two. Let us imagine a major world leader, a G7 or BRICS nation group, is suddenly removed or attacked in late February 2026. It would create the chaos of the masses. That's what predicted in Bhavishya Malika as well. So 17th February, the solar eclipse, and a high-profile leader suffers a kind of even health crisis or a kind of secret betrayal due to the 17th February because of that new moon energy. And 23rd February, obviously Mars is joining Rahu in Aquarius. It's the real spark. This is the most likely day for a kinetic military event or an assassination attempt that pushes the world towards a kind of war scenario in 2026. 23rd February is really, that is the most violent energy as per Vedic astrology, because Rahu and Mars conjunction, that too in conjunction with Sun with other 2 planets. So total is a 5-planet conjunction in the sign of Saturn, which is directly showing the 12th sign, exit from the world, dissolution. That's it. I would say Mars is the winner of this planetary war on 18th January. And by late February, the chaos. So, even Bhavishya Malika warns of a time when the star will fall and the earth will be bathed in red kind of energy. So, the Mars Rahu Sun cluster, in addition to other 2 planets in Aquarius, as a sign of Saturn, suggests winner can be whoever controls the technology rather than who has the biggest or powerful army. So I would say the winner is whoever controls the technology, because it's the Aquarius energy. Whoever able to, because Aquarius is nothing but technology. Alien technology or hidden technology or a new modern technology, whatever out of the box technology you talk about, that is Aquarius. So whoever controls this Aquarius region, he is going to be the winner, rather than just having some biggest army in the world or a lot of missionary in the world, or not this. I would say winner is whoever controls the technology. Thanks for watching this video.